Hey, Slider Crusaders. So we talk about different worldviews all the time. It's really important to understand the worldview that people have and that we have as we encounter any situation. And Joe Biden and Democrats on the left, they have a very different worldview when it comes to everything, particularly the economy. Or I should say, what we're going to talk about in this segment is the worldview when it comes to the economy. This is a good hint of what's to come. This is a question for Biden's press secretary.
What is President Biden doing for my small business? First and foremost, he nominated a woman to lead the Small Business Administration who formerly worked there.
A woman. So there's a woman leading it, so it's great. She did a very similar thing with Janet Yellen. Like, oh, well, what are we going to do with GameStop and the stock market? Well, Janet Yellen's a woman. That's the worldview. Sam Gregg is here. He's the research director at the Acton Institute. Mr. Gregg, how are you, sir?
Great. It's great to be with you, Mike.
Thanks for being here. So what do you think about this worldview? What is their worldview, and how is the Biden team approaching these economic issues?
Well, I think you pretty much nailed it with that little clip from the press secretary talking about a question about small business. Small business is obviously extremely important to the United States. Small business leaders, executives want to know what the Biden administration's policies are going to be in this regard. And to say, well, the SBA is being headed up by a woman is not actually an answer to the question, but it reflects what I think is going to be the way that the Biden administration is going to be talking about economic policy. Yes, they'll talk about some of the more traditional things that you would expect, but it's fascinating to me that they're leading with something like, well, the person who's running this department is a woman, or the person who is doing this belongs to this particular group. It really reflects, I think, the way in which much of the left, and this is reflected in a lot of the Biden administration, is basically building what you might call, well, what is, frankly, identity politics into everything, so that things like monetary policy, which is of course what the Federal Reserve deals with, the fact that these issues are somehow being tied to identity politics, well, I think it's actually, these things should have nothing to do with things like that. Things like monetary policy, things like government spending, these are things that deserve to be treated on their own merits. And frankly, I don't care what skin color or gender the person heading up these organizations are. What matters is the competence of the person and the type of economic views that they bring to bear. So answering by saying things like, well, such and such a thing is headed up by a particular person from a particular background really doesn't tell us anything. What it does tell us is the way that much of the left thinks about these issues. Everything is viewed through the lens of identity, identity, identity.
Wow, that was deep and insightful. I want more of that.
Like, subscribe, get more.